Hello folks, welcome back again, thanks for joining me. Okay, so the weather's absolutely miserable outside, no good to man or beast, so I'm in here just tying up a few last minute creations ahead of my pending Mexico trip, a yearly trip. We're away next week, and there's one or two patterns that I just wanted to fill up on and replace from last year to get going. And this one is a local favourite out there. The guides always run their fingers over, especially when we're targeting permit. And it's the raghead crab, and this particular variation, I think you call this one the Casablanca raghead variant, raghead crab. Quite nice to tie, actually quite a satisfying tie. So I thought, as I'm knocking a few out, I'll just share them with you in case you're interested. Maybe you're heading out that way, or maybe you just like tying your flies. I've no doubt these will already work well for bass as well. But anyway, let's get a hook and a vise and get going. So the hooks for this, you need a very robust hook. I mean, salt water is always times 10, isn't it? You know, you're always putting so much more pressure on everything in salt water. And this hook here is a Gamakatsu, and this is the SL12S, or SL12 short, and a size 2. Very sharp hook, very strong hook, and very difficult to get hold of nowadays in any sort of quantity. I used to buy these by the 100, and here in the UK I'm really struggling to get them now. If anybody knows of a good supplier who wants to sell them in a little quantity at a time, please let me know. Anyway, that's the hook and the vise. Thread for this is Chartreuse 30. This is the Textreme, so I can get it up there. A little bit too much light there. Anyhow, this is the Textreme 30 in Chartreuse, and we're just going to lay a little bed on there to get started with. Let's get this pattern going. Again, a robust thread, because saltwater fly, it goes for a lot more punishment. As always folks, if you like these videos, please click like, click subscribe, and I am trying to get more out more regularly. Plenty of trout patterns come in and more fishing videos coming. Okay, we're just going to work that all the way down, just round to the bend of the hook, and then back up again, just to form a bed to tie on. Really stops anything from slipping. There we are. Now it's worth tying these in a variation of weights, but this one's going to be a fairly heavy one, so I've got a 5mm lead dumbbell dyed yellow, and again it's a sort of a local favourite. They like the yellow eyes on these things. So I'm just going to bring that in, and just a figure of 8 wraps over the top, right up to the hook eye, and get it up nice and close. We're not tying anything in front of the hook. Plenty of wraps in there just to get it nice and secure. Don't want it to move about, but then we're going to finish all this with a bit of varnish anyhow, so by the time we're finished with all these materials, nothing's going to move. Okay, that's on there, that's bedded in there nice and tight. That's going nowhere, as you can see. And again, your variation of weight depending on where you're chucking these. Obviously the deeper the water and the quicker you want it to get down. If you're fishing ultra shallow water, you want a few of these with very light weight on them, so they make less splash and they take longer to get down to the bottom and make less disturbance. Permit are very wary fish. They're absolute headbangers if you ask me, but we try to do everything we can to give ourselves a fair chance. Okay, so for mouth parts for this now, we're using just a tan Marabou. Okay, we're coming in with a little bit of a tan Marabou, and we're going to just take a little pinch of that, and they're going to add that on there, and these are going to be the mouth parts of the crab. It adds a little bit of movement at the front, back of the hook as well. This fly doesn't have an awful lot of movement. It's got the plastic legs to it, but it doesn't have an awful lot of natural movement, and this just gives it some. So just trim that down so it's nice and even, and then work that all the way back. There we go. Just like that. Let me just switch that off. No more disturbances. Okay. And just run down there again a second time there, so we've got the mouth parts at the back there, and again it's going to give it a nice little bit of movement Nice, looks like a trout fly, doesn't it? And now we want to give the effect of claws on this, and for that I'm going to use just a grizzle hen neck. Okay, I've got just a grizzle hen there, and I'm just going to select a couple of plumes and strip them back. I've already done them, ready to go. So I've got 2 plumes like that, all stripped back, ready to add on. Now these have got a natural bend and a natural curve in them, as you can see when I hold them against the camera there. And we want the curve to point outwards, okay, just to give the effect of claws pushing away from the back of the fly. So the first one's just going to hold up from the back of the fly there, and just whip that in with the bend facing outwards. Good whips in there so it's nice and secure. Just move that so it's set, and the same on this side. So again, hold it up. I'm just going to get that bend. If they're pointing slightly downwards from this side, all the better, because this fly is actually going to be fished the other way up. It's going to sit the other way up. This is essentially the bottom of the fly we're tying here. So there we go. Just bind those down, trim off the excess, and then just wind back down again. It's alright, time to invert the fly in the vise now. So we're going to flip the fly in the vise, turn it round. Normally I would just turn the vise round like so, but because got the camera there, I don't think that's gonna work. It might do for you. Now we've done it now, it doesn't matter. Let's pop that back in the vise, try not to clip in any of the feathers. There we go, nice and tight. Okay, so I'm going to bring that back down, get that right down to the bend of the hook. That's just as I've done there is another good point why we use this quite robust thread. You're quite likely when you're tying these flies to clip the point of the hook, and these hooks are razor sharp. They'll cut through normal thread without any problem at all. Using this slightly thicker stuff gives you a little bit more leeway. Right, the body, the main part of the body of this is made up from this stuff. It's got EP fibres, sculpting fibres, whatever you want to call them. They come under dozens of different names, very easy to find in loads and loads of different colours. And this particular one is tan, okay. And I've just selected a length of this. I pulled a length of this off the main body, okay. That's about a quarter of the width of a pencil, and then I've cut this into inch strips, and you can see them, I've got them all laid out down here. These are 1/8 inch strips, and there's sort of 8 of these down here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to form a body with these. So I'm just going to add these, just lay these against the hook, put a wrap over the top, just somewhere so I've slightly got them. It doesn't have to bang on the middle because you're going to trim these, and then put another wrap in, so you've got this figure of 8 wrap that's come around. The first one is the most important one to get right, because the rest are going to butt up against it, going to lay up against it. So that first wrap is in there. Now I want to push that back best I can, get it right back in the hook, and then I'm just going to bind that up. I'm going to follow it in and just butt that right up so it holds it there like that. Lovely. That's taken that first wrap right into the hook. Now another one. This is just a series of these all the way up. You could just do this as one piece all the way up, hold it as one piece and chop it as you go. This is just my preferred way of doing it. Again, you make your figure of 8 and then butt it right up, and then follow it up with thread wraps. Lovely. Just like that. Okay, this is our first set of legs going here. So this has got 3 sets of legs, and this is just a white flexi material, nothing special. And we're just going to add that, bring it in here, and again just butt that right up, catch that in, great, it's in there where we want it. And then the next one, another 2 of these. One wrap, 2 wraps. Again, you don't need loads of wraps around these because we're going to be coming into this with, going to be finishing all sort of with UV anyhow. So butt that up again. Another one And we're just going to do this all the way up the body. 2 of these, then a set of legs, 2, and then a set of legs. You can see how this is starting to form that body on the way up. And these fibres are great because they give you bulk, or give the illusion of bulk, but actually they're very light. They don't hold much water. They shed water really quickly. So this fly, even with that bit of weight on the front of it, it's relatively straightforward to cast. And you know, that's what you want with permit flies or any of these flats flies, because sometimes your shots are really quick and you haven't got time to be messing around with loads of false casts and drying flies off. You just want that fly to drop out of your hand and a roll cast and 2 false casts, and it's where it needs to be. So the less bulk from a fly, the less air resistance. Also you're often chucking in quite windy conditions, and that all adds to the air resistance and all adds to difficult casting. Right, that's 1, 2, I've got 1 more on there. Lovely. And again, this is a local pattern for where we're heading to Ascension Bay. This is, I believe they call this the Casablanca Raghead, and Casablanca is a big lodge on the south side of Ascension Bay, where we actually ended up quite a bit last year, full of permit. I had loads of shots last year. I did have 2 myself, not particularly big fish, but you know, every permit's a great permit. I certainly had some shots at some huge fish, in typical permit fashion. I do a lot of looking, not a lot of eating. Which can be quite frustrating sometimes, but that's what makes them such a sport fish. And then we're just going to finish off with 2 more wraps at the top here. 1. This is the last one. Just catch that in behind those eyes. Push that back. Lovely. Do you know what? We might get 1 more in there. Put 1 more up in there. It all depends how tightly packed you get these, but I'll get 1 more wrapping on this one, just to really get plenty of shape in this. Brilliant. That's better. Hold that back and then just finish it off at the front there, and then bring that forward. And you could put a weed guard in here now. I'm not going to. I haven't found a need for weed guards in Ascension Bay yet for most of the place we're fishing, barring a few shots at some bonefish and some really shallow water over the top of some weed, but I've never really needed them. If you need one, if you needed weed guards, I can soon whip them on in the lodge. It won't take 2 minutes to put a weed guard on there. Right, that's that tied off. A second set of wraps in there just to... There we go. Right, that's all the tying side of it. Now we just got to trim this down, okay, to make it look more crabby, and we need to take this out of the vise for this now. Take this out of here, get this out of the way. You see, that's how your rough fly looks now. Okay, so we want to actually make this crab shape now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the legs all around on one side, pull all this fibre out. So the fibre's all pulled out to one side. Okay, and then take my scissors, and then you need nice sharp scissors for these, and then just start to make that nice crab shape. Just bring it round and just follow it round. So be careful not to cut any legs off or to cut any feather off, or take your time, just get that nice, trim off any wayward hairs. Okay, and then we're going to do the same on the other side, so I'm going to turn the fly over, bring all the legs over to the other side. Okay, just sweep everything to the outside again, so we're happy with that. And then I'm just going to again just trim round that sort of half moon shape. Lovely. So just make that. You can work on these as long as you like, but to be honest, you don't really want to overwork them. And there we have the shape, the sort of the crab shape there now, as you can see. Looking good, starting to shape up. What I'm just going to do is, while the legs are all underneath there, I'm just going to have a look at that and just trim some loose fibres over the top of this. I'm just going to come over and just trim some of these fibres away. Not even makes a lot of difference, I don't think, but looks better to me. Okay, and we're going to bring the legs through, just work the legs through the body all the way through to the other side. And we're going to do the same on the top. Just going to hold that, have a look at it. Doesn't look too bad actually. I'm just going to run the scissors over the top of it just to tidy it up. Lovely. Now we just need to trim these legs off. They don't have to be equal, but just somewhere there or thereabouts is fine. So bring the legs halfway through the fibres, and then I'm going to trim these down. They don't have to be particularly long. Okay, and then roughly the same on the other side. Just get these evenly spaced. And there we go. Just going to trim them there. Looking good. We can put this back in the vise and then just finish off with a bit of UV, just to really toughen the fly up. Again, this is the side that the fish are gonna see. Sits there nice and flat. Okay, let's get the vise back round again. Look in there. And this just makes it a little bit more robust, you know. As I say, you're going to be chucking this about a bit, but to be honest, if you manage to get one fish on one of these, you've had a result, because one fish, like a permit, one in a trip, is a result. They are little buggers at times. Here we go. That looks really good now. Okay, so I'm just going to come in and finish this with a bit of varnish. So is the Uphaven UV resin, and I've just taken a bottle of this and I've just put a little applicator on top of it, just to make it a little bit easier for me. I'm just going to come in and give that a nice little bit. Just get that in there on top of each one of the legs down both sides. Right over the front, and just let that soak in for a second. Just let that get in and soak in. I'm going to give a little blast with the torch. And I might come and give this a second coat, just with another coat of varnish over the top of it, just to really firm it up, but it won't really need it after this. So a good blast, and then the same on the underside. As you can see, the underneath of the fly there, we're just going to run along that middle centre sort of vein of the fly. Again, just catching on the back sides of those legs. Nice little line up there, and then just work it around the eye of the hook over the top of the thread, let it soak in, and then give it a blast. There we go. That's your raghead crab. That's your Ascension bait permit fodder, and this has really been very popular this last few seasons. Lots of fish coming to these flies. You can vary them, you can turn, you know, I've got some in there tied up obviously with different sizes of eyes. I've got some tied up in white with the white EPs on them, fibres, some even darker than that. It's worth just having a handful of each in the box for every situation, but that there is in about 10 days time hopefully going to get chucked at the tail end permit, and hopefully going to come along and gobble it. I hope you enjoyed that, something a little bit different. But I'll be doing one or two of these sort of water time videos in the next week or so, simply because that's what I've got on the device at the moment. But if you like it, click like, click subscribe, any comments down in the comments box, and I'll see you soon. Thanks very much. Bye bye.